I'm going to show you a method that I use to 10x my productivity coming up. What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and today we're going to talk about productivity, but not the big, massive general subject of productivity. I want to share one specific piece of advice with you because I think productivity is a massive subject and we can be on this for hours and hours and hours, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of videos in the future that cover how to be more productive. But in this one specifically, I want to talk about committing in public. Now, this is something that has kind of helped me out a lot in my past 10-15 years of development or so, and I didn't notice I was doing this at first. It would take me essentially, it started out when I got an opportunity to live in California. So I had lived in California in my early years. We had moved back to Florida for a little while, and then I was visiting my dad out in Florida when I think I was 18 or 19 at the time. And I got an opportunity with a company. My dad knew one of the guys that ran the place, and they said, hey, we need a web developer, and it's a live-in position. They were a property developer at the time, and they told me, hey, if you do our websites for each one of our properties, we'll give you a free place to stay. And I was like, that's great, because these places were awesome. These are like super high-end lofts, and it was like my dream as a creative to kind of move into one of these places. And in LA, the rent was like $2 or $3 grand a month. And as an 18-year-old kid just visiting, like I didn't have that kind of cash at that time to spend. So I said yes. Here's the twist. I had no idea how to make websites. I took the position. I committed to the guy. I said, yes, I can make websites. I had no idea how to make websites. I had a week to learn how to make websites. And I had to get my ass into every tutorial, every forum, everything that I could possibly imagine. Like, I had to do it. Like, I had dabbled in HTML before. Like, I could probably bullshit my way through talking to somebody, but seriously, I've never built a website from scratch at that point. And it was scary. And then a couple years later, someone asked me, they said, hey, you do websites, because I got really good at websites. I got really good at different content management systems and stuff, and templates and all this other stuff. And they're like, hey, you're really good at websites. Why don't you help us out with SEO? And I was like, totally, I can do SEO. Let's do this. Never did SEO in my life. I had about a week to figure it out. I jumped in. I figured it out. I got shit done by the deadline, and everybody was super impressed. They were like, oh, dude, you're one of the best SEO guys we've ever worked with. Didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Had to learn all this stuff as we go. So for me, the fastest way to learn that stuff was committing to someone that I cared about in public. And people that you care about is the first key, right? Because if you don't give a shit what a certain person thinks about you, like you commit to someone you hate, it's not going to matter, right? I committed to people I legitimately did not want to let down, people that I cared about. So I didn't want to let them down, and that was enough to keep me on the hook to figure the shit out and get the shit done. The second part of that, first part is commit to people you care about. Second part is a definitive goal, right? My goal in that case was to learn how to get this person's website to the top 10 of Google for a specific keyword. It was a very specific goal, right? I didn't learn SEO, the entirety of SEO, all of the knowledge known to mankind. I could never do that in the time that I had. But I knew I had a goal to get this person's website to the top of Google for that certain term. So I learned everything I could about that specific process. Same thing with web design. I wasn't trying to learn everything there was about web development. I was just trying to make one website for them or fix their current website or whatever problems they had with it. And when I got back into games, like I had always been working on games on and off throughout that whole period, but when I got really back into games later on, I realized I had some of the same issues that I had before I started doing that stuff, before I started committing in public, because these games were really personal to me. I wanted to make these games, but at the same time, I didn't really want to show people. I was kind of scared what people would say or what their opinions would be. And that's when I remembered like the whole committing in public thing, and I started doing that. I started saying, hey, this game is going to be out in February, whatever, to people that I cared about, and made sure that they knew when it was going to come out, so I would look like a dumbass if I didn't make it out. If I didn't make it and complete it and get it there on time. I think having the first part, people you care about, you respect. Having the second part, a definitive goal, an actual like concrete thing that you want to achieve. And then third, having the definitive timeline, like an actual date of when it's going to be done. When you have those three things, you end up with a sense of a sense of like you need to get it done. Like seriously, like a sense of urgency, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. You end up with a sense of urgency, but you also end up with this kick in the pants that you need, that you have a deadline, but you also don't want to let this person down. So you end up with accountability and urgency, which are the two things that can really get you off your ass and get you moving. Accountability and urgency, like I made an entire video on accountability. It's super powerful. Most of you programmers out there know that like urgency seriously is one of the things that gets most shit done out of anything. When you have a deadline, if you've ever worked in freelance, I know I have, like, dude, when we have a deadline, we figure out a way to bend time to get shit done. I still don't know how we do it. Like, there's so many things that I like legit think is not possible to get done by a deadline, but every deadline we have, it's like we bend time to get things done. So that urgency and that accountability are the two factors of this whole method that really like pull it in and really make it happen. So if you're having trouble being productive, or you're having trouble finishing a game, or you're having trouble in that last slog of whatever it is, you can be more productive by committing to something in public. Like I said, you gotta have the 3 points. You gotta have someone you care about, you gotta have a definitive goal, and you gotta have a definitive timeline. But if you have all three of those pieces and you commit in public to someone you don't want to let down, you have the accountability, you have the urgency, and you can get shit done quick. That's the message for today. If you liked what I shared in this video, please leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you guys in the next video.